Welcome back. You're still tuned into News and Views with me. Excuse me, Salalo Makridire, and we'll be delving into a very, very pressing issue. Our first topic takes us to Sudan, where a new investigation by Amnesty International reveals a devastating reality. There's a constant flow of arms, which is fueling relentless civilian suffering. This is amidst this brutal conflict that has been taking place in Sudan. And despite an existing arms embargo on Darfur, weapons from countries including China, Russia, Serbia, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen are finding their way into the hands of combatants. This crisis has resulted in over 16,650 confirmed deaths and the widespread displacement and an imminent risk of famine. And to help us unpack this complex and tragic situation, we are joined by Sudanese journalist Saeed Abdalla. Saeed, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
I think first and foremost, let's start, by you giving us an overview on the current situation in Sudan, and giving us context on what are some of the key factors driving this ongoing conflict.
Till now, what we know, it's more than 6,650 people have been killed, and in reality, this is just the official number. But in reality, the numbers are way more than this. More than 11 million people are estimated to have multiple waves of displacement internally and also out of the country as well to the neighboring countries. And that have resulted in people really having no home, given the fact this is the rainy season in Sudan for the people who have been displaced internally. And very little in by way of food or clothing or shelter. And many people are now on the brink of famine. That's what we know. And some of them are already in the famine mood, which means that essentially reach them as soon as possible.
And I want us to now focus on this story, that report by Amnesty International, which highlighted the constant flow of arms into Sudan, despite there being an existing arms embargo on Darfur. Do we know how these weapons are being smuggled into the country and are being subsequently distributed amongst the two warring sides? Said, I think you have muted yourself. All right, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Before I answer your question, let me just highlight what's the Amnesty International trying to just the Amnesty International report. I can highlight just some point of that on the report. Then I can just indulge to answer your question. I think first is the conflict in Sudan. What we can read from the report, that the conflict in Sudan is no longer about local two factions, which is the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, and the Sudanese Armed Forces. But behind the scene are some international players and stakeholders. The conflict is being fueled by a constant flow of weapons into the country. Secondly, it's clear that the existing arms embargo that currently applies only to Darfur is completely inadequate and must be updated and extend to cover the whole of Sudan. Thirdly, this is a humanitarian crisis that cannot be ignored. As far as we can see now, there's lack of spotlight from the international community to what's going on in Sudan. So, but the humanitarian crisis at the moment, it's very dire, it's severe, and the threat of famine looms large in the country. Going back to answer your question, I think what we know is these weapons don't come like straightforward, like from government to government or like officially. The official statement from all these countries deny that they supply weapons to warring factions in Sudan. But what we know through agencies and through small agencies in the region, these warring factions have been dealing with these uh, uh, weapons. I mean, like in a way that's not official, in a way that is just through agents, and that's what we know so far.
Mm, mm. And I think one thing that really stands out for me is the fact that the arms embargo is only on Darfur, which is the main city region in Sudan, but it's not on the whole country itself. Do you think as Amnesty International suggests that the arms embargo be extended to cover the whole of Sudan? That would be in a way effective in trying to mitigate the smuggling of weapons into Darfur and ultimately to the rest of Sudan as the country.
So I think Amnesty is trying to highlight that now there's way more weapons are getting inside the country and less humanitarian aid. Instead of like the people who are suffering from this conflict is the civilian, and this is really remind of like what applied the Darfur embargo, the army embargo in Darfur, was the genocide that happened in 2003. And again, this is another genocide is happening now at the moment. And instead of people trying to solve the issue, instead of people try to solve the humanitarian crisis at the moment, they are just bring weapons and they are fail the Sudanese civilian. And this is cannot be allowed, because this is will spread to the other countries as well. And the best way now is to apply arm embargo for the whole country, not only for the Darfur region. In this way, and by putting more pressure from international community to this warring faction, we can at least get to the point where the humanitarian aid can be we can find corridor for humanitarian aid and find access to the essential aid, at least to reach to the people in desperate need in the country at
Mm.
the moment.
Mm. You speak on, ultimately trying to find a corridor for humanitarian aid to start flowing into Sudan and into Darfur. And the contradictory, and I think the part which is most disturbing is that guns and weapons find themselves easy access into Darfur and into Sudan, but then when it comes to humanitarian aid, food, water, and medicine, that's difficult for people of Sudan to access. What do you think it's some of the reasons why it's so difficult for humanitarian aid to find itself into the hands of the Sudanese people, but guns and weapons are so easily accessible and so easily penetrative into the country?
Well, I think simply because these two factions, the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces, they've been using the starvation as a weapon of war. They've been using hunger as a weapon of war. They did that together in 2003, where like we found more indirect death caused by lack of humanitarian access, lack of medical assistance than there were from direct battle death. So today, at the moment, we're speaking about 15% of the population in Darfur and Kordofan are expected to die due to famine. There is aid available at the moment, even though it's not enough, but still there's some aid available in the country, but there is no humanitarian corridor to access. The issue is these both factions are trying to be an obstacle to humanitarian aid because they think this ethnic group or these tribes are standing with this faction, and these people are like standing by those factions. So we just block the international humanitarian institutions or the humanitarian community to access to the country because they think they might bring help to the other faction. But in fact, they are using this method in order just like to reach their goals, which is highly affected the innocent civilian and the Sudanese people on the ground.
I want us to take a quick break, but then when we come back, I want us, to you to give our listeners a bit more insight into the ambitions of these two warring sides, particularly, the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF, and also the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. What are their ambitions? Number one, and then number two, the response of neighboring countries and the African Union. Has it been enough? Into making sure that a long-lasting peace is ultimately reached when it comes to this conflict in Sudan that has claimed so many lives. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll continue with those two questions afterwards.
This is Salam Media.
Contact Lenasia Livestock and Poultry for all your sadaqah, akika and kurbani requirements. We offer clean, hygienic abattoir style and refrigeration facilities. Sheep, goats and cows are available at competitive market-related prices, direct to the public. We slaughter, slice and distribute on your behalf. But that's not all. Introducing Meat Masters Halal Butchery, our sister company situated on our farm in Lenasia. Unbeatable prices on lamb, beef and chicken. Lenasia Livestock and Poultry. Livestock is our business. We are Sanha approved. Telephone 011 857 1774. Call now.
It's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with Penny Appeal organizations in Gaza.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, buckies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Makridere, and we're still focusing on the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Sudan, which has largely been exacerbated by these two warring sides: the Rapid Support Forces (RSF) and also the Sudanese Armed Forces. And we're still joined by Saeed Abdalla. Saeed, thank you so much for staying with us. Before we went on that short break, I had, two questions that I think we can just ultimately wrap up with. The two warring sides, the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and also the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. What are their ultimate ambitions, when it comes to Sudan, and why essentially they're fighting in a battle that is, has resulted in so many casualties. That's one. And my second question is the response of neighboring countries. I think from the latest report by the United Nations is that more than 2 million of the 8.6 million displaced people in Sudan have crossed to neighboring countries since fighting started almost a year ago, and hundreds of thousands have fled to Egypt, Chad, and South Sudan, with a small number arriving in Ethiopia and the Central African Republic. So those countries themselves, we know a lot of them not the wealthiest, not the most politically stable. How have they reacted to such a big influx of Sudanese, displaced people making their way into their countries?
To respond to your first question is, I think the Rapid Support Forces was like a part of the Sudanese Armed Forces. And we saw this militia came out on, I think, in 2003 during the Sudanese war, Darfur war. I mean, like at that time. So, till that time, we don't know anything. We did not know anything about the Rapid Support Forces. At that time, the name was Janjaweed. So, between 2003 to 2005, the government used this militia to fight against rebels in Darfur. And then this militia became like bigger and bigger. And in 2013, 2014, I think al-Bashir regime just tried to legalize this militia and make it like formal and make it just belonging to the Sudanese government at that time. So and afterwards, from the parliament, the parliament approved this militia to be they call it the Rapid Support Forces at that time. And if like they were together until al-Bashir, the Sudanese people toppled al-Bashir, and there was a revolution, new government. That government were power sharing between civilian and the military. The military with the Rapid Support Forces share the government with the civilian. In 2021, in October, that these two factions together decided to make a coup against the civilian, and since October they couldn't manage the country together, because these two leaders, which the head leader of SAF Burhan and the head leader of Rapid Support Forces Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo Hemeti, these two leaders, I think each one of them has the interest to rule and the country and to be number one. And because the conflict of interest, they couldn't do that until and there was simmering for this conflict, for this tension, till April 2023, where the war erupted, and every faction backed with some of the local community and some of the international community as well. We see like the traditional backed for Sudanese army is Egypt, while like the UN accused the UAE of backing the the rapid support forces. And within 1 year, we see that like even like more people, more Sudanese people have been going away from the conflict zone to neighboring country, which is like mainly most of them, they went to Egypt, South Sudan, Chad, Libya, and Central Africa, as well as like Ethiopia, Eritrea. So all of the neighboring countries, like people have been like traveling to the just trying to escape the war. The issue is like these arms have been coming to the country from this neighboring country as well, like have been coming to Sudan from this neighboring country, and this has affected the situation and worsening the situation on the ground. I think what we can say now, they are trying, these neighboring countries, they are trying to mediate, they are trying to solve the issue, but I think still it's not enough, because when we talk about that, when there's no political will from these two warring factions, I think it's hard to reach to a peace agreement, or to reach to the ceasefire agreement, or to a last longing solution. So I think the effort now, it's been coming from the Saudi Arabia as a key regional player there, as well as from from the United States. Both together established Jeddah platform where they can talk about, where they brought the two factions to negotiate. But so far, the Jeddah platform started in just few weeks after the war erupted. But so far, they could reach to a short period of ceasefire. They could reach to the like some kind of access for humanitarian aid, but they couldn't reach to a last longing peace deal. So for now, what they are trying to say is the United States and the Saudi Arabian government, both together, they Anthony Blinken, the American official, stated last week that they are going to Geneva, and they are going to try to bring the other stakeholders, the UAE, Egypt, Saudi, and the United States, as well as the IGAD, which is the regional bloc, the African Union, all together to monitor, to observe. So far, what we know, that both parties agreed to go there, but we still don't know what's going to happen next, because more pressure needs to be from the international community for these two warring factions to stop the war and to engage with the political solution. Because what we can say here, there is no military solution for this war, as we witnessed, and it's what's going to happen. It's only we can see just more worsening for the situation and more suffering of the civilian.
All right. I think we're going to leave it there, Saeed. Thank you so much for giving us your time and providing us with those crucial insights into the situation in Sudan. We're going to leave it there for now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the situation in Sudan is just a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked arms flow and the need, the urgent need for global action to protect civilians and to promote peace in the area. We're going to take a quick break. We'll see you right after this. You're still tuned into News and Views with myself, Saeed Abdalla Sudanese.